Oh, did you have separate testimony, or was that?
You both signed up and said yes.
I'm going to talk about this from a technical standpoint, and I thank Wayne Cross and the other city council members to come to listen to what we have to say. From a technical standpoint, the oil company said, well, the pressures on the roads are going to be about the same as a chip truck. Now, if you think about it, this is not logical, because you look at a chip truck and look at the tremendous load that these loads are going to come through here. There's no logical way that they can say that there's not going to be any effect. And the question then becomes, have they really tested this idea or hypothesis that they put out? Because I don't believe that anybody has really tested it, but they're just saying that it's the same. I mean, if you think about what happens with these chip trucks, when they go down the highway, they go down the highway at 50 to 60 miles an hour. And how fast are those loads going to go? At the most, probably 50 miles an hour. And you say that they're not, the effect on the highway is going to be completely different. The other thing is, in the summertime, the highway are going to be heated to 90 to 95 degrees. That's going to make that asphalt very soft, right? And when you get a big load coming through, there's no way that that big load is going to have an effect on that soft asphalt. And it's going to tend to ruin that highway very quickly. And this is not only true on a good highway, but on parts of this highway that are in not so good shape, the effect of those big loads are going to be that much greater. And finally, I'd like to say that, you know, a good example of what can happen is, when I was young, we would go skating on the river, and we'd reach a place in the river where it would be very thin, and we had to get across the ice to get to the other side. What we found out was if we went slow, what would happen? We'd drop right into the river. But the only way we could get through on that ice was to go fast, and we wouldn't have any effect. We wouldn't fall into the river. And so this is a similar thing that's liable to happen with these big loads. And I think it's a big mistake to even think about allowing these big loads to go through without real testing of their idea that these big loads are going to be the equivalent of a chip truck. Because they have not given any proof that this is true. Because how many people would think that this would be tested? I don't believe anybody has tested it. And so make them prove that this is true, not use it from a theoretical standpoint.
Oh, that was Paul. I'm sorry, that's Paul Manita. Same address. They both signed up together. Okay, Cass Davis.
(1041) Iverson Road, Moscow. I want to talk about going to jail. They make it to where it's not very much fun at all. It's not something that I want to do. It's not something that most people want to do. They make it really uncomfortable, and sometimes it's really hard to get out. But people have gone to jail for very desperate reasons in the U.S. history, and they've done it for very noble reasons during desperate times. And I don't really think there are a lot of deniers in this room, people who flat out don't believe that climate science has proved a changing environment. However, the amount of urgency you feel for change is what really shapes our perspective. Do you really feel that we have 5 years? Do you feel we have 10 years? Top climate scientists claim that if the tar sands is complete, we've gone too far. Well, another fact of science is species that fail to evolve or adapt to their environment die, become extinct. It's what happens. Our DNA has kept us alive till this point in time. We've adapted, we've changed. There is been about 100,000 years our species has been about the same animal as it is now. But it's never lived in the environment that is yet to come due to climate change. So there is no proof at all that we can adapt to the changes we're going to see in the future. How quickly are those changes coming? There's a snowball effect out there, and that's called synergy. And when those permafrost tracks start to thaw and methane gases start leaking into our environment, it's going to happen fast. And it's going to be scary times, and it's going to be very desperate on this planet. Whether or not our species will adapt and make it through these hard times leaves question in my head. But one thing I do feel personally, that the time is to act now, and we need to do it quickly. And I don't want to go to jail. And a lot of people didn't want to go to jail in the past for what they believed in. But there's going to be a lot of us going to jail to stop climate change because we don't know what else to do. So we're going to use nonviolent civil disobedience to try to stop these megaloads. There's nothing wrong with taking a stand. You guys may not take a stand all the way and go to jail like myself and others choose to do. But you can take a stand by at least putting forward a non-binding resolution, by just saying that you don't agree with the Alberta tar sands. You can do that. Even if you think it does no good, it always does some good to take a stand. And when you think of those people in jail, please take a stand for them. And oops. I have some papers. Here, I only got like 4 copies, but it's Tim DeChristopher's speech right after he was released, and he's going to go to jail, and it's for change, and you guys can just share that amongst you. I was going to read it, but
No, you're out of time. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Aaron Ament.
Aaron Ament, 523 Beach. I'd like to ask, I know you have a schedule and what you want to do, and I'd like to ask that you forward at least the comments made here to our city council so that they can have a timely manner and they can treat it as they will. I want to thank you for letting us have this forum to speak to this problem. I want to thank everybody that brought all the numbers and the facts and figures. I don't have any. I just want to speak to the city council through you. In their rush to embrace the loads, our city council betrays their allegiance to the prerogatives of business. Citizens were allowed to listen and to speak, but they were not heard. The columns have been totaled, the dollars have been read, and the symbol of the bottom line has spoken. End of appearance of discussion. One topic is conspicuous by its absence, even in this non-discussion. What are the consequences of these loads reaching their destination and being put into operation? People will die. Another piece of our planet will be destroyed for farther than any of us can see. To imagine these loads, as our council seems to, as popping into and out of existence as they cross the city lines, to see them as a benign piece of equipment sitting in a tree-lined concrete street, that belies the destructiveness of these loads. I want my city council to address this nature, the destructive nature of what we're doing. I know they have no power in this issue, but if they speak, others might. And if the prevailing voice asks, then we can stop the destructive behavior. The action of our city council represents all Moscowans as supporting the exploitation of the Alberta tar sands and the destruction implicit in this project. I ask only that our city council listen to what their constituents say and then discuss all the issues before declaring our support.